Hey guys, welcome to episode 19 of the First Bonds Coach, and I'm your host, Marilyn Okoba. And so guys, today we're still talking about Abraham, and so much you're seeing a lot, especially about family in Abraham's case so far, whereby we see Abraham takes on the burden of the family, that is the family vision, and realizes it. His father started the journey of going to Canaan, but Abraham is the one who takes them into Canaan. He didn't just stay, and then now God starts separating Abraham from Lot, and after that separation, God gives Abraham gives him a vision. He gives him a promise, a word to stand on, literally. And God is telling Abraham, I'll give you a son, and I'll make your descendants so very great, and you'll have descendants who are as many as the dust. Imagine, this man is childless. 10 years down the line, this man has not gotten any kids. He's still childless. All these years, from Haran, they've been married, they've been working. It has never disturbed him, or it has never gotten into his spirit that I now need to have a child. It was a burden in his heart, but we never see it amplified, But after God tells him, I will give you a son, because he asked God, what gift will you give me? What reward will you give me, seeing that I'm childless? And God tells him, I'll give you a son. This slave will not be an heir to you. I'll give you a son. And so, from a point of a woman, I'm thinking, Sarah noticed there's something just not adding up with the husband. And he was like, this man, there's something disturbing him. Okay? And in foresight, I think Abraham, after receiving that he'll get a son, he became anxious. Unknowingly, not trying to put pressure on Sarah, but he did put pressure on Sarah, like, you're not childless, and the Lord told me we get children, we get a son specifically, and it's not happening. And so Sarah does what? In Genesis 16, because you always say Sarah gave Abraham the wife, the maid. But what was this? Now, all these years, they have had servants, they have had maids. It has never occurred to Sarah. He had never seen other women before, for Sarah to give them to his husband to get children. I don't think that was the case. But this only arises after there is a promise of a son given to Abraham. And later on, we'll notice something again. So in Genesis 16, Sarah offers to give Abraham Agai, an Egyptian maid, to sleep with. And Abraham probably thought it is God using Sarah to give. That is how he'll get his son. His loins that is making this woman pregnant. And so Sarah decides to give Agar to Abraham, and Abraham now sleeps with Agar, and they get a son. And when Agar conceives and sees I'm pregnant, hey, I've done something that Sarai has not been able to do for all these years. She looked at Sarah with contempt. With all the side high, bombastic side high, she gave them to Sarah. And Sarah now goes back and tells Abraham, what she had seen. And she tells Abraham, may God deal with you. Because now this woman has seen she's pregnant. May God deal with you. May God look upon you and judge between you and me. And Abraham does what? Tells Sarah, go deal with her. She is your mate. And Sarah deals with her harshly. And she runs into the wilderness. And now we get the first woman to be able to receive word from the angel, And Sarah, and so Agai is told by the angel, you shall get a son, and you shall call him Ishmael. Okay, you should go back to your master Sarah and submit to her. And remember this time Sarah, Abraham and Sarah had not yet, their names had not yet been changed. They were still called Abraham and Sarai. And one of the things we notice is Abraham avoids confrontations and tough situations. We have seen him lie to get out of something because he doesn't want to die. He doesn't want confrontation. I don't want to argue that this is my wife. So we are going to do this nice and slow. We are going to say, you're my sister. Here, he has slept with Agar. Agar is pregnant, starts disrespecting and showing bombastic side high to Sarah, and he's like, you deal with her. Me, I don't want to deal with this, okay? So one thing we notice is he doesn't like confrontation. He avoids tough situations. It's the same reason, that is why he told Lot, you choose where you want to go. The direction you'll go, I'll go the opposite way. Okay? So he doesn't like confrontations. And then God appears to Abraham now at 99 years old. And he tells Abraham, walk before me. That means because of trusting in his own understanding, Abraham had fallen from his walk with God, because he had now slept with a maid, because he was trying to fulfill the promise or the word that God had given him by his own interventions, and thinking that because Sarah had said, now it's probably God intervening, but it was his hand intervening. And so God appears to him and tells him, walk before me and be blameless, and so that I can establish a covenant with you. And now this is the point that Abraham's name gets changed from Abraham to Abraham, and to mean a father of multitudes. And God tells him, kings shall come forth from you, and I'm establishing an everlasting covenant with you. Okay, so this is an everlasting covenant that is being established with Abraham, and his name has been changed from being Abram to Abraham, and now he becomes a father of nations, a father of multitudes, because of the changed name. Okay, and also is being told by God that from your lineage kings shall come forth. Okay, and then Sarai's name is changed from Sarai to Sarah, and now the Lord tells him Sarah shall bear a son. And look at this. Look at this at Genesis 17. He tries to convince God that he has a son already, Ishmael. He laughed. Okay, let's note this. Okay, in Genesis 17, after God says, I'll give you a son, I'll bless you, and I'll give this land of Canaan as a possession to your descendants. Okay, and is being told to circumcise every male as a sign of this covenant. Okay, and so he tells God tells him, you shall have a son. He laughs and says to himself, shall a child be born to a man who is 100 years old? Shall Sarah, who is 90 years old, bear a child? And Abraham said to God, oh, that Ishmael might live in thy sight. That is verse 18. Okay, and God says to him, no, but Sarah your wife shall bear you a son, and you shall call his name Isaac. I will establish my covenant with him as an everlasting covenant for his descendants after him. So Abraham laughs when the Lord tells him, I'll give you a son. Okay, and he tries to present Ishmael as the promise of the son that God is talking about, but God tells him, no, the son I'm giving you has to be born through your wife. Okay, and he's questioning, shall I bear a son? I'm 100. Shall Sarah get a child and she's 90? And because of that intervention, God says, I will make Ishmael great. Okay, I shall make him a great nation. He shall have 12 tribes, just like Jacob. Okay, just like Isaac. And so Ishmael gets 12, shall be blessed and bear 12 princes. Okay, but now the covenant, the everlasting covenant, shall be established with Isaac. Okay, and then to show the acceptance or the belief that now had entered into the heart of Abraham after the change of name, God, he circumcises every male in his household. So him and his son Ishmael were circumcised in the same day. Okay, and then in verse 18, God appears to Abraham at noon while he's on his way going to Sodom to destroy it. So he had not told Abraham, And then Abraham sees three men. He welcomes them and tells them to come have a seat to eat, so that they are able to share and refresh themselves. And in that process, you will notice something. In Genesis 18, there were three men, okay? And one of them was bearing news for Sarah, specifically. And this is the difference. In 17, you see God tell Abraham, you shall bear a son. Abraham laughs and defends and tries to defend Ishmael. But in verse 18, when these men come visiting, Abraham sends his wife to prepare a meal, and they prepare and they feed these men, and then these men ask for Sarah, and then they say, where is Sarah? Okay, in verse 18. And when he answers and says is in the tent, they say the Lord says, I will return to you in the spring, and Sarah your wife shall have a son. And Sarah was listening at the tent door behind him. Okay, the first prophecy that was given, Sarah was nowhere in the sight. So Sarah didn't know he's supposed to bear a son. Okay, for Abraham, the prophecy had not entered into Sarah's life. Let's say that. Okay, and so Sarah gets this message, gets this word, and she laughs just like Abraham did. This is a family that loved laughing. But now there's a difference in how Sarah laughs. Okay, let's see. Sarah laughs to herself, saying, after I have grown old and my husband is old, shall I have pleasure? For Abraham it was, will you indeed give me a son by her? Will you? Will you give me a son by her, really? She's It's a difference. It's a difference between how Sarah loves and how Abraham loves. For him, it is, can I bear a child at 100 years old? And my wife is 90. But for Sarah, it was, and he had, after saying those words, Abraham, after saying those words, he now says, oh, may Ishmael live before you. May this land that I conjured myself live before you, not your plan. Okay? But Sarah, her response after her laughter is different. Let's see. Sarah says, after I have grown old and my husband is old, shall I have pleasure? The Lord said to Abraham, why did Sarah laugh and say, shall I indeed bear a child now that I am old? Sarah was like, wow, can I even enjoy that process of being pregnant at this age? She was, her laughter was doubtful, but with hope, questioning, can I really manage? Can I really carry it? And then the Lord tells Abraham, why is Sarah laughing and asking herself if she can bear a child? Why is she doubting herself? Because she's old. And then the Lord continues to say, is anything too hard for the Lord? At the appointed time, I will return to you in the spring, and Sarah shall have a son. I believe these words were not being spoken to Abraham. These words were for Sarah. But the Lord was telling her, is there anything too hard for me indeed, Sarah? At the appointed time, I'll return, and you shall have a son. Okay? And Sarah denied, saying, I did not laugh, for she was afraid. He said, no, but you did laugh. And it ends there. So, Sarah is told now, you are able to bear a son. You have the capacity to bear a son. You can carry a pregnancy. She's worried about the pleasure at old age and enjoying being a mother, carrying the pregnancy. But God is like, don't laugh. Don't. Your laughter should not have fear or worry in it, Sarah. Because nothing is too hard for me. And at the appointed time, I shall come. During spring. And in other versions, it says, during the time of life, I shall come. And you shall have a son. And Sarah denies because she's afraid that God has had me laughing. Oh my God. God has had me doubting. Wow. And what happens? Well, I think we'll finish that in the next episode, okay? So I hope you've been blessed. I hope you are catching and realizing things from the Bible from a different perspective, because these are things that I never saw before. But now that I'm reading it again, I'm realizing some things. So I'm hoping also you are realizing some things, and God is giving you revelation also for yourself, even as you in the journey of getting into the fullness and seeing the beauty in being a firstborn. So be blessed. See you in the next. Bye bye.